What's up, guys? So back with you again. Feel pretty out of it here as my internet is at least working for now. So hopefully I can just get through this really fast. It's another big card because college basketball is just big all over the place. College basketball has been terrible for me. I mean, yesterday, what can you even do? I had 3 winning days in a row, 2 huge wins in a row. I was on a nice run and gave a lot of it back yesterday with like a 2-7 day. Fuck that. 0-2 in the NFL. I mean, what can you even do? Neither game was even really that close. I don't know what to even tell you about it. What can you even say? Rams defense sucks. Colts offense sucks. That's all I could say about that. College basketball, I think I deserved better than what I got. The Southern Miss one, I mean, yeah, that was a loss. That was bad. I lost a little bit on the closing line, which I think was at 7.5. By the time it got into nighttime, whatever. But South Florida, I think that should have been a win. They had the lead for a decent chunk of the game, and they were winning late in the game. And it looked like it was going to come down to, I think they were up 4 points with like a minute left in the game. So I don't know how they wound up only winning by 1. But it was like, it was going to get into a spot where they were going to get intentionally fouled and cover that number. And that's one where the number did matter. Because if you got them at a +1 underdog, which I don't even know how long that line was even out. But if you did get it at that absolute best number, you would have won. And otherwise, you push or lose, which is what I did. But whatever. I think they were the better team in that game. They did win, but they didn't cover the small favorite price. Pitt, I don't know what happened with Pitt. I mean, that game looked like it was a done deal and it was over. Pitt was blowing Wisconsin out of the building early in the game, and Pitt has the better defense, so it's hard to come back against Pitt's defense. And Wisconsin still somehow did and won the game. Don't even ask me how that happened. I was not watching the game. I did not pay attention to the game. My mic cord is like, I don't know. I'm out of it today, man. And then whatever. I mean, was there another game? Oh yeah, McNeese won, and then I won on NBA, although it went into overtime with the Miami Heat. The Utah hockey play, I mean, I still think it was a decent shot to just fire on the money line there. And if you did fire on the +1.5 goals, you did get that part of the bet right, as they only lost by 1 goal. But they did not get blown out in that game. They played decently at the very least. So there was a shot to hit that one. So that one wasn't that bad. But we move on today. I got more college basketball. I mean, we got a big college basketball slate, and I want to do better, obviously, in college basketball. College basketball has already started for the day. It started at 10:30 Eastern with this Daytona Beach tournament here, playing early in the morning. Well, kind of early in the morning. Chicago State, Radford. Don't really care about that. I don't really care about any of these games up until I do have a play once we start getting into the 1:30 slate. So I'll just start talking about my plays. First play is going to be Mercer +4.5. I'm going to fade Jacksonville in this spot here, and I probably should have it up right now on the schedule here if I can. This is going to be a fade of Jacksonville, man. And Jacksonville, I think they're in a much worse spot than Mercer is. Jacksonville's down from 4.5 to 4. There are still 4.5s out there. Mercer, 56% of tickets, but 76% of the cash. I mean, the public probably just knows the name Mercer a little bit more, so maybe that's why they're getting slight public sentiment there. But I think they're getting more of the cash. I think it is legitimate. I think the line is moving down towards Mercer, and I think it is because Jacksonville is in a pretty bad spot, in my opinion, man. Jacksonville, they're coming off a nice big road upset. I think this was road upset, right? Or maybe it was neutral site. No, this was on the road in Blacksburg. They went into Virginia Tech as a 13.5-point underdog, and they beat Virginia Tech. They were losing badly in the first half, too, and they came back in the second half, won the game, maintained the lead, and they didn't even shoot well from 3, 28%, but they did kind of overshoot from the field, 51.7%, and Virginia Tech, not as good, 41.1%. Maybe a little bit unsustainable on the numbers there, but that's still a huge upset win for Jacksonville, and they've been sitting around thinking about that for a few days, which might also break the losing momentum that they have here. Now they get this Mercer game, which is in one of these tournaments. This is in the Fort Myers tournament as well, so yeah, it is closer to Jacksonville, but still, Mercer, I mean, they're up in Georgia. I mean, they're not that far away from there either. And Jacksonville, speaking of Georgia, look who they have up next on Saturday. They got to play Georgia on Saturday, so this game is sandwiched in between 2 bigger opponents. I think they might overlook this Mercer team, man. It's below 500. I think it's possible that that does happen. Mercer, I mean, they have not faced a difficult schedule so far. That's true. And they still have not won a Division I game. So does that scare me a little bit? Yeah, I mean, kind of a little bit. But they're coming off a game where they at least played a step-up game against South Carolina, and they did not play this game that close. So it wasn't like a game where it was like a max effort. But I think it at least battle-tested this Mercer team a little bit. So I like Mercer a lot better in the spot. I think they're going to show up for this game. They want to try to break this loss streak. They're still looking for a first D1 win. Jacksonville is coming off of one of their, like, that's a big win for that program, man. The Jacksonville's coming off of one of their biggest games of the year, and they won it as a huge underdog. So give me Mercer plus the points in that one. Next up, we're going to go we're going to continue in this Fort Myers tournament. We're going to go right back to the other side of that game. I'm going to take the points with Virginia Tech, even though Michigan's up from 10 to 10.5. I think this line's getting a little bit out of control, and I know I'm not talking about the pace play of these teams because I'm just going to ignore it here. I'm going to go real old school with these and just look at the scheduling spots here, man, because I was having to handicap all this on my phone because I didn't have internet, and I'm just like, whatever. These are the games I'm going to play. Michigan, I don't love the spot that they're in, but I like Virginia Tech to bounce back here as well. Michigan, I mean, they have not faced the most difficult schedule so far. The big conference team they faced, they're 1-1 against them with a loss to Wake Forest and a win over TCU. So we don't really know how good this Michigan team really is yet, but they're coming off a very satisfying win, a blowout win over Tarleton State, which I know Tarleton State, they're not good. They're a whack team still, whatever. But Michigan State, I mean, if you blow anybody out by a margin like that, even though I know Michigan State was a giant favorite, 31.5, whatever, you do that, and I guess they didn't even cover the spread in that one, but you blow a team out like that, I think you're feeling pretty good about yourselves, and now they have to go to Fort Myers, play this game against a Virginia Tech team that doesn't look very good so far. And who does Michigan have up next? Well, they have a break up next, but then they start Big Ten play with a big game against Wisconsin, so they might have an eye looking forward to that, man, and they might not take Virginia Tech totally seriously after Virginia Tech lost that game to Jacksonville, but Virginia Tech was coming off their first really big game of the season in Penn State. They lost the game fairly badly, and I think it kind of hung them over because that was their first loss. I think it should be back to business for Virginia Tech here. I think they're going to want to play well against Michigan here, and I don't know if Michigan really should be laying a big point spread like this against another team that isn't really that bad, another big conference team there. So give me Virginia Tech plus the points. Next up is going to be a fade of a team that pulled off a big upset, and I think this is also a misleading spread. East Texas A&M plus 2.5, which this is actually Texas A&M Commerce changed their name to East Texas A&M. I don't know why they wanted to remove their city from their team name because that's where the Commerce came from. They are in Commerce, Texas. East Texas A&M, man, I mean, yeah, they're 1-5, so the odds maker is going to look at this and think, wait a minute, Stonehill's 3-4. They're undefeated at home, and this is at home in Easton, Mass, in Mercer Gymnasium. Mercer, kid. So 3-4 Stonehill, East Texas A&M 1-5. The betting public's going to come in and say, wait a minute, it's only a 2.5 spread, and you're just basically asking me to almost pick the winner in this game? Well, obviously it's going to be Stonehill, right? Well, I don't think so, man, because that line is also telling you that East Texas A&M is actually the better of these two teams, and I think it might be a little bit more significant than what the odds even tell you. I really don't think Stonehill is that good a team, man. They're in one of the worst conferences in basketball, although I know Southland is not a good conference either, but the NEC, I think, is even worse. And look at East Texas A&M's schedule so far, man. I mean, yeah, they've lost 5 games, but look at these losses. Iowa, and then they had South Dakota kind of sandwiched in between Iowa and Texas A&M. So maybe that just sandwiched South Dakota in there, and East Texas was in a bad spot there, really. So that could explain that loss too. And then, yeah, they lost to Texas A&M. They lost to UConn, and they lost to Oklahoma. I mean, those are all big opponents, man. So 4 out of 5 of their losses are all to power conference teams. I mean, what can you even do about that? Like, those losses are all excusable, including the South Dakota one because it was a sandwich spot. And they did beat Southern in the mix there as well. So a game that's kind of more on the level of this game. They were able to win the game. So I think now the fact that they kind of got blown out in this last game. They're battle-tested. I think East Texas, they're stepping way down in class now to face this Stonehill team. So I think they're going to play much better. I think they're going to be ready for it. I mean, facing all those huge teams, like, it's going to be a big step down in class facing this bad Stonehill team. And then on the other side, Stonehill, they just upset Bryant, who was a 12.5-point favorite coming into Stonehill's place. That's how bad Stonehill is. Bryant's not a bad team, though, but Bryant was a 12.5-point favorite at Stonehill, and Stonehill was able to pull off the outright upset in this game. Coming back in the second half, too, from down like almost double digits. Comeback win for Stonehill. But, man, this game, I mean, this is a bad shooting game for both teams. I don't know what to tell you. The rebound discrepancy was just crazy, and I don't really see Stonehill being able to do that again necessarily, really. So I think they're in a letdown spot coming off a huge upset win like that. And on the season, their only other wins are against a Division II team and against New Orleans, who I know that is a Southland Conference team. Oh, no. They did beat another Southland Conference team, but whatever. And then up next, they have a huge game in 2 days. They have to face Marquette. So they might be looking ahead to that, man. I mean, that's like the biggest game on their entire schedule all year. So even though you're not going to expect that you're going to beat Marquette, but you're still going to show up for that game because that's a huge game, huge opportunity. So, yeah, I don't see it. Give me East Texas A&M, man. I think this is probably my favorite of these plays. Stonehill, actually, they're up from 3 to 3.5, so I think you could probably take +3 or 3.5 on this now. 3 with juice, whatever. Give me East Texas A&M plus the points, whatever the line's going to be there. Next up, North Texas, -6.5. That's another one I'm going to lay. I'm going to come in and play a favorite here, although this is the first favorite I have today. So I'm going back to my style with the underdogs here. North Texas is up from 5.5 to 6, bordering on 6.5. It is basically 6.5 everywhere, although I think with reduced juice, as long as you get it at under 7, I think it's fine. They have 86% of the tickets, so surprisingly they're public, but 93% of the cash on them. So I think they're less public than what the cash is. I think the cash is legitimate coming in on the North Texas side. And I just think it's weird that North Texas would be that public as they're laying 6.5 against an Oregon State team who was a former Pac-12 team. So the public, you would think, would come in and look at this and think, well, how is like a lower conference team like North Texas laying 6.5 against Oregon State here? So, yeah, I mean, that is a question. And this game is in the Super Pit, baby, in Denton, Texas. That's what North Texas calls their arena, the Super Pit. It's not really an easy place to play, man, for a road team. So that helps as well. And the odds makers are telling you, surprisingly, North Texas is actually the significantly better team over Oregon State, even though they're in a lower conference, although North Texas is now in that orphaned Pac-2 conference, I think is where Oregon State is now. I think I accidentally said North Texas again. Oregon State. But still, Oregon State, I mean, because they're from the Pac-12, they're still considered to be a bigger conference team. But the odds makers are telling you North Texas is actually the better team. There is some decent competition in North Texas's conference there. And Oregon State, they're coming off a huge game against their arch rival, Oregon, man. And they went all out in this game. They were a 6.5-point underdog at home in Corvallis. They played their guts out in this game, and they barely lost the game. It was a close game statistically, too. And this game went right to the wire, man. So if you're Oregon State, this is one of your biggest games of the season. You almost pulled off the upset against your big brother, Oregon, who's been in the tournament recently, and you have not been. How do you get off the mat after that? And not only that, but it's their first true road game this late into the season. Oregon State finally has to face a first true road game. I don't like it at all for them. I don't see it at all. Give me North Texas, or laying me North Texas minus the points here. North Texas, this schedule, man, they're coming off a bad performance against Texas Wesleyan where they almost didn't even win the game. They were losing at halftime, and they barely won the game, even though, yeah, they took control, won the game, but it was still a pretty bad performance for North Texas. But I think they just came in this game and thought they could easily win, and they shot only 27.3% from 3. That's an outlier. That's going to progress back to some sort of mean. Texas Wesleyan shot 55.3% from the field and 42.9% from 3 against them. That's not going to happen again. I mean, those are major outlier percentages, too. There's going to be some regression with North Texas's opponent here, and somehow with those high shooting percentages, North Texas still won the game. So obviously, They were the better team, and that just looks like a bad performance for them, but I think they're going to bounce back after that. They know that was an ugly performance, and they were coming off facing McNeese, which was a tough opponent, and it was their first loss of the season, and they went into that game as a second straight game on the road off of a huge win over Minnesota. So that was like one of their biggest opponents of the year in Minnesota, man, and they stepped it up and won against a Big Ten team on the road. So they were coming off that huge win, so I think it wasn't the greatest spot for them facing McNeese here. They got caught in that game, but now guess what? They're facing another big conference opponent, and last time they did, they played pretty well. So lay me the points with North Texas here, man. That's what I'm going to do in that one. And then next up, the last game that I have, I think, on the slate is Norfolk State plus 6.5. Give me this one as well. Let me see here. Give me the points with Norfolk. I can't spell, obviously. Folk is good enough. UC Davis is up from 4.5 to 6.5, which worries me a little bit. That it looks like some money is coming in on UC Davis, but I don't like it, man. I don't see it. I think Norfolk State, as I mentioned in some of my other videos, might actually be a little bit better this year than they actually have been in the past. They're in a bad conference, in the MEAC here, but still, Norfolk State, I mean, they've played some step-up games this year and played fairly well, beating JMU, and then they lost in a letdown spot against William & Mary, so that could explain that. They played pretty competitively against Stanford, and then coming off that really competitive win, I said they were in a bad spot in a third straight road game against Grand Canyon, and yeah, they got kind of blown out. I won laying the points with Grand Canyon, and they actually didn't cover the largest number, but it pays to get in on that early, man, because I won a bet on Grand Canyon in that one, and Grand Canyon should have won more easily, probably. They were blowing Norfolk State out of the building, and then they just kind of let up. But Grand Canyon shot totally out of their minds in this game, 61.1%, 58.3% from three. That's not going to happen again. Grand Canyon's been Jekyll and Hyde, man. They have games where they just shoot where they can't hit the broadside of a barn, and then in this game, they're just hitting every single shot. So that's just insane. And Norfolk shot a little bit lower than what you would expect, maybe 28.6 from three. So that game maybe wasn't as ridiculous as it looked for Grand Canyon. Norfolk State, coming off of that, I think it's going to put them in a bounce back spot, even though I know it's yet another road game, but they're at least kind of out in the western part of the country, so they don't have to adjust to the time zone really or anything like that, and they don't have anything bigger up next. So I think they are going to bounce back here for this game against UC Davis. But the other thing is that UC Davis, it's also a step down in class after facing Stanford and Grand Canyon. UC Davis is not as good as those teams. And also, look what UC Davis just did. They just beat Grand Canyon on the road coming off a loss to Stanford. Could have been maybe a bad spot for them, but it was not. And this is a game where Grand Canyon, again, like I said, Jekyll and Hyde, after a huge, I think this was after the game. I don't know which game was first, actually. Maybe this game was first. I don't know. But Grand Canyon had that ridiculous shooting performance against one of these opponents in Norfolk State. And then in this other game against UC Davis, they only shot 37.3% and 16% from three. So total outliers again there. And that's why UC Davis won that game. And we're looking at a common opponent here where the public might come in and think, wait a minute, UC Davis beat Grand Canyon and Grand Canyon destroyed Norfolk State. So this is easy, obviously, right? UC Davis is going to blow out Norfolk State too. Nope, it doesn't work like that, man. You can see right here, Grand Canyon couldn't hit anything when they played UC Davis, and they were hitting every shot against Norfolk State. So the reality is definitely somewhere in the middle here. And UC Davis, 45.6% from the field, 46.7% from three. That's kind of an outlier, too. That's got to regress. That was a big step-up game for UC Davis, man. It was an upset, a 17.5-point upset that they pulled off. So I think that's going to put them in a letdown spot. And then up next, they got Oregon State, man. So that's another big game for them. They're playing the remnants of the Pac-12 at the very least. That's basically their one remaining big conference team left on the schedule. Oregon State up next, so this is a sandwich spot. So give me Norfolk State plus the points. And then I will point out a couple other games real quickly here. Just some games that kind of caught my eye. The San Francisco line does look kind of weird in this game. Let me see. Francisco, Clemson's up from 1 to 3, but 54% of tickets on this, 72% of the cash coming in on the other side on San Francisco in this Sunshine Slam in Daytona Beach here. So San Francisco, I mean, they are kind of out of their element a little bit. They're far away from home, but still, the odds makers are telling you something with Clemson only being a 3-point favorite. This San Francisco team is good, and I think they continue to fly under the radar, so it would not shock me if San Francisco plays well in this game, and they're playing a bigger conference team here, so they're going to step up their game for this. And it looks almost way too easy to take Clemson here because everybody knows Clemson's pretty good. They made a nice run in the tournament last year, and it's like, who the hell is this San Francisco team, really? Like, this is not Bill Russell anymore. So, I don't know. But San Francisco looks like they're a pretty good team this year, man. So, I would lean that way with the cash percentage rather than where the line moved in that one. It would not shock me if San Francisco played well there. And kind of similar with Dayton and North Carolina here in this Maui Invitational. These teams are out in Hawaii right now. But North Carolina, number 10 in the country, is only up from 7 to 7.5, not laying that many points. 78% of the tickets, 77% of the cash. So, I don't know. It looks almost too easy to lay the points with North Carolina there, too. And Dayton, unranked, flying under the radar. But Dayton, I think, is still undefeated. And they're not a bad team. And they kind of try to ugly up the game, I think, and play slower, which North Carolina does not really want to do. So, could be a weird contrast of styles there. And could be a situation where maybe Dayton comes in within that number because they might be able to mess up the game enough that it's a lower scoring, ugly game. In that same tournament, Auburn, Iowa State is the big game tonight with number 4 against number 5, Auburn against Iowa State. Auburn up from 3 to 4 with juice. 75% of tickets and only 72% of the cash on them, so they're public but with less of the cash. But I would say this is more of a legitimate move, though, because it looks more significant going up from 3 through 4 with juice. It looks like there is some actual legit money coming in on Auburn, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. I mean, both of these teams are really good, but Auburn, I think, is a really balanced team, whereas Iowa State's more defense-oriented. So I think Auburn is the team with the better offense and nearly as good a defense as Iowa State has. So that's the way that I would look in that one, would be really only to the Auburn side in that one. And is that it? I don't know. There might have been another game I wanted to... I was going to say Rio Grande Valley. They're in a letdown spot, so this is close to being a game where I wanted to maybe take the points with Lemoyne here. Rio Grande Valley up from 10 to 12.5, but I don't quite want to do it because this looks like legitimate movement driving them up towards 13 almost even at this point. But Rio Grande Valley's coming off that game where they put in an all-out max effort at Wisconsin, where I won money on that one on Rio Grande Valley. Wisconsin was in a letdown spot coming up that huge win over Arizona. So I think Rio Grande Valley caught Wisconsin in a bad spot, like at a good time to catch them. Rio Grande Valley max effort, but they have had a lot of days off, like 5 days off after that, so that might help kind of push that game to the side. If they're playing right away really quick, I would say, yeah, they're in a huge hangover spot here now, and they still might be, so I still would not want to lay the points with Rio Grande Valley coming off of that huge Wisconsin game at all, but it's maybe less good of a spot to play against them because they've had days off to kind of forget about that game and kind of regather themselves after that, so not really something I want to do, and I forget what, it's right here. What Lemoyne is coming off of, I forget. Lemoyne, yeah, they got blown up by Texas A&M Corpus Christi, so they could be in a little bit of a bounce-back spot maybe, and they're just kind of staying in the state of Texas here. So, and Rio Grande Valley, by the way, they have a game against a Texas foe up next in Stephen F. Austin, so that's a bigger game. So it is a game where maybe they would just totally look past Lemoyne, because who the hell is Lemoyne, really? We don't care about Lemoyne. So little bit of a lean there, but not a game that I'm actually playing. Move over to NBA. I hate the NBA card today, man. I absolutely hate it. I will say, I think the Mavs are in kind of a bad spot. I'll just point that out real quickly. I don't want to actually play this one, but the line looks like it has driven up Atlanta from pick'em to 3, but I don't know if that's just sort of because of the Luka injury situation still being in effect. I don't know, but the Mavs, they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, winning against Denver. Then they lost, giving me a win on Miami last night in the tough spot going to Miami, and they lost in overtime. So now it's like, what are they really going to have left now in the tank going to Atlanta? And they have a bigger game up next, and they return home against the Knicks. I think they could overlook Atlanta, and that game also halted a win streak for them. So I do like the Atlanta side in this game better, but you look at the Atlanta side here, they're returning home from a road trip, so I still don't like it, even though they have 2 days off, and it is Dallas, so it's probably not a team they're really going to be unfocused for, but I really don't like laying points with teams in return home spots, man. So I just can't do it. It's not a great spot for either team. It's a worse spot for the Mavs, though. But Atlanta also 84% of the tickets, only 50% of the cash on them. So some kind of conflicting indicators there in the market. So no thanks. I don't want to do it. And then the game that I am actually going to play, I'm just going to try to get through this quickly, is the Indiana Pacers -6.5. Even though it is public, they're 86% of tickets. It's up to 7 now from 5.5. So you do want to get this number before it hits 7, man. 7, key number in basketball, because it's the 3-possession threshold where teams stop intentionally fouling. So you want to get this number at less than 7, because the public and the pros look like they're all on the side of the Pacers here. So I expect this line to keep moving up. So Indiana -6.5. This is more of a fade of the New Orleans Pelicans, though. And hey, this is a more efficient video for me. I'm already going to be finished with the NBA. I'm just only talking about 2 games, but still. Getting this done quickly, man. More rapid fire, I guess, even though I don't shut up. New Orleans, even though they've had a few days off here, they're still coming off a game where this is a TNT game, I think, one of those in-season tournament games, and they really stepped up their game, man. And they had a bunch of step-up games in a row. Look at the schedule, man. Oklahoma City, they lost by double digits in that one, so not great, but still a big step-up game. Then they beat Denver. Then they played close against L.A. Then they finally had a game where they couldn't. Yeah, I mean, they ran out of steam, basically, and they got blown out by Dallas. Then they had to face Cleveland, and they didn't bounce back in that, which I thought they actually would, but they did not. And this is a New Orleans team that's been playing through a ton of injury issues, too, throughout all this. And then what did they do in their most recent game? They stepped it up, and they hung with Golden State, man, in that TNT televised game, in-season tournament game. And they were in this game almost the entire way, and they made another furious run right near the end to get back within 1 possession in the final minute. So, again, this is a game where I think they're going to be hung over and maybe run out of steam, even though they have had 2 days off to try to push that negative momentum aside and try to break it. I just don't see it here for New Orleans, man. That's a tough game to come off of, a huge max effort game against Golden State. And then pay attention to the injury situation, though, because the only reason the line might start coming back again towards the Pelicans would be if McCollum comes back in this game, because it looks like he has practice and he may actually come back in this game. But if he does, it's going to be a reverse injured player spot. I don't expect him to be really playing like a full slate of minutes in this game, I wouldn't guess. But it probably will affect the line a little bit, and it might affect the Pelicans' chemistry situation a little bit, where he has to kind of get used to playing again. They have to get used to playing with him again. So it's not the greatest spot. That first game, a key player returns from injury, man. So if he comes back, I still like the Pacers side, and you might get a better number on the Pacers if you do, but again, I don't know. It looks like it just does keep moving in the direction of the Pacers, so getting it at under 7, I don't think I want to wait. Like, as long as you get it at under 7, I think you're good here. And Indiana, I think, is in a better spot here because they broke a bad loss streak here. They were able to break it by beating Washington, which was in a return home spot, too. And yes, they earned a back-to-back and in a third game in 4 days, so they're in the worst rest spot. I understand, and I got caught playing the Utah hockey team in that type of spot last night, but still, I think it is a better spot. I think that win over Washington, it's not a full effort game. Washington's a terrible team, and I think all that's going to serve to do is break that losing momentum, and I think they're still going to be ready for this game, and they don't have anything surrounding this game that would really cause them to look past this New Orleans team. It's really just a matter of, is their rest situation bad? And I don't think it's bad enough that I would not want to lay the points here. I think the situation is just really bad for New Orleans, even though they do have more rest. New Orleans, I mean, their roster is really thin right now, too, with all those injuries. So I will lay the points with the Pacers in that one. Excuse me. And now NHL, I got 3 plays, and they're probably just the only games I'm going to talk about here. First up is Tampa Bay Lightning -110. This is a fade of Colorado. I think Colorado's in a bad spot here, man. Tampa's up from -105 to -113, 73% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on this Tampa Bay team. So even though it looks like they're a little bit public, which doesn't totally make sense to me because both these teams have similar records now. And Tampa Bay did have a stretch where they weren't playing very well, but they did wind up beating Winnipeg, which was a huge win for them. But still, I think in this game, public or not, it looks like more of the actual money is coming in, fading the Colorado Avalanche, and I agree with that side. The Colorado Avalanche, look at what they're coming off of, man. 3 road games in a row. This is now a 4th straight road game, and they've already had a successful road trip, man. They've won every game on the road trip. So at this point, I think, yeah, they're going to consider that road trip to be successful, whether they win this game or not. And what they're coming off of, yeah, they beat Washington, and then they beat Florida, the returning champs, 7-4. That's a huge win for Colorado, man. So are they really going to focus on Tampa Bay? And then look what they have up next in 2 days when they return home. They get Vegas, and then they hit the road again and face Dallas and then Edmonton. If they're going to overlook any of the teams they have in this upcoming schedule here, it's going to be this Tampa Bay team here in a road out-of-conference game. They have a Vegas team that's been playing really well recently with a really good record up next. Dallas, and then Edmonton, the returning Western Conference champs. Yeah, I think they're going to look past Tampa in a game like this, man. Even though Tampa's a pretty good team, it's going to be a sandwich spot here. And Tampa is the lesser of all those opponents mixed in there, so it is a sandwich spot. And Tampa with this 10-7-2 record, I think is actually better than their record looks right now. I think they're flying under the radar because they had that one stretch where they lost some games, mostly to good teams, though. And then, half of them at least to good teams. And the other half, they might have been just in kind of bad situations. And now they're coming off 2 losses, man. So they want to bounce back from this. So they are going to be focused here. Yeah, they played a step-up game against Dallas here. And maybe they should have played better and bounced back. And they were losing by 1 in the third period. But they gave up a goal early in the third period as well. So they were losing by 2 goals for the rest of this game. So even though, yeah, they did step it up in this game, and they did play a real physical game against Dallas. Dallas wasn't physical towards them, so Tampa didn't really get beaten up in this game. Dallas is more of a finesse team. Tampa has started playing a bit more physical, which I like as well. So I think Tampa's in a much better spot here, in my opinion, to bounce back. As big as you think that Dallas game was, I don't think they're going to overlook Colorado. And I think there are many reasons why Colorado will overlook that game. Next up, one of my patented hockey totals, Nashville, New Jersey, over 6 at -108. The line looks like it's dropped from 6 juice to the over to juice to the under. However, the cash percentage, the ticket percentage right now look to be indicative of an over. It was 75% of the tickets and 98% of the cash on the over. So I don't really know how to read that exactly. New Jersey is down from -160 to -135. 70% of tickets on them, 78% of the cash on Nashville. So it actually does look like Nashville has it looks like Nashville has some of the public action on them. And maybe I agree, just Nashville's probably being undervalued a little bit because their record is bad and New Jersey's record is really good. But I don't want to play Nashville coming off. Look at what they're coming off of, man. They beat Winnipeg. Like, that's a monumental win. That's one of 3 losses that Winnipeg has on the season, and it's an in-conference win. So having to do that, they did that, and now they're going up to New Jersey for this one weird road game up there in New Jersey. Do you really think Nashville is actually going to be that focused on New Jersey? I'm not sure about that, so I'm banking on the defenses to kind of just not have total focus in this game, which is why I'm going with the over here, because I think when you're in a bad spot, I think it actually affects the defense a little bit more as far as the focus is concerned. That defensive intensity kind of lacks a little bit, and it's actually a little bit easier to score. And when I've mentioned, I like the over in such and such a game, a lot of them have won, even though my bets are only 3-3 in that scenario. So hopefully that'll continue. I think it's a letdown spot at the very least for Nashville there. And Nashville, Saros did play in their last game. He's played a bunch of games in a row. So if he plays again, you're going to get a more tired goalie. Even though he is a pretty good goalie, he'll be tired at this point for Nashville. And if he doesn't play, well, then Wedgwood is going to be in there, and he's their lesser goalie. So either way, I think it's not the greatest spot for Nashville. You're either going to get an unrested good goalie or a rested not very good goalie. So that's what we're looking at there. On the New Jersey side, New Jersey just had a tough stretch of games against Florida twice, sweeping them. Then they had a letdown, loss to Tampa Bay, which I think, did I win on Tampa Bay in that game? I don't remember if I did or if I didn't. Then they returned home, and they still beat Carolina after having a bunch of days off. And then they also beat Washington. So after this stretch of huge games, are they really going to pay that much attention to Nashville after all those huge wins in conference and out of conference team coming into their place? I'm not so sure, man. And it will be Markstrom back in net for New Jersey after Allen played the last game. Markstrom is their better goalie, but still, I don't know that either of their goalies are really that great, so I'm going to bank on both of these teams not actually having total focus in this game, which I think will affect the defense. So give me the over in that one with both teams, I think, being in letdown spots there. And interesting that the money is coming into the Nashville side because I think their letdown spot is actually a little bit worse than the one on New Jersey. And my final play is a split bet on the St. Louis Blues at plus 1.5 on the puck line, minus 130, and the rest of it on plus 200 on the money line. And you could do this multiple ways. You could either split the bet half and half, or you could turn this into more of a spread bet where you want to put like maybe 70 to 80% of the bet, maybe I would say, on the puck line there, just because 130 is still a little bit much to lay on that, and then sprinkle the rest on the money line there. Either way you want to do that, I like it. I like the side here for St. Louis. They're playing the Rangers. I know the Rangers are really good, and St. Louis has been ass, but I think there are reasons to do this. The Rangers are down from minus 250 to minus 200, so some significant movement on coming in against the Rangers here. 98% of tickets, 100% of the cash, I doubt is accurate. But still, I think you can say at the very least that the Rangers are very public here, and the money seems to be coming in against them. Why do I like St. Louis? Well, not only are they coming off a bad, ugly loss, and they're mired in the middle of just a pretty ugly season, but still they're hovering close to 500, so it's not that bad. And like losing to Carolina and Minnesota, you can't really blame them for that. Losing to the Islanders apparently was the last straw for them, though, because they fired their coach and they hired the Bruins' recently fired coach, Jim Montgomery. So it did not take him very long to find a new job, man. So this is a fired coach spot for St. Louis. So you know what I do. I'm going to jump on St. Louis. I don't know if Montgomery is actually going to come in right away and coach this game or not, but whether he does or he doesn't, I still like the fired coach spot, man. And if he doesn't, it'll probably be some interim coach just for the time being who at least knows the St. Louis system. I mean, Montgomery's going to have to come in, and yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a transition period here, but I still like the spark from the fired coach phenomenon. I still like that spark in the first game. And you're playing the New York Rangers, man. You're going to step up and try to win that game against one of the best teams in hockey. So a couple of big motivating factors for St. Louis in this game, man. And as I always say, when the coach gets fired, the reason why that tends to be a step-up spot for that team is that, one, they play harder because they didn't like that coach and they want to play well under the new coach, and it fires them up a little bit for that reason. Or number two, or it could be a combination of both of these, but number two is that the players want to prove that they're not the reason why the team hasn't been playing well and that the coach was the problem. So the players don't want the blame to be on them, so they want to show that they can play well and show that it was not their fault. So for both of those reasons, they show up in a game like this. And then on the side of the Rangers here, yeah, they've been playing well, but they're returning home from a road trip that took them to the Pacific Northwest, so they're in a bad spot. So we get everything lining up on St. Louis here, man. You get positive situational angles on St. Louis, including a fired coach spot, and it just happens to coincide with the Rangers in a return home spot. Give me it, baby. Give me the St. Louis. Give me the Blues. I got a bad attitude. Wait, what is the song going? I don't even remember. Whatever. It's Doctor, give me the news. Something. I forget what it is. I got a bad case. Oh, no, I got a bad case of loving you. So what's the song I was thinking of them? It's Give Me the Blues. I don't remember. Whatever. I do know music, but not those specific songs. The Rangers, they had a road trip that took them up to the Pacific Northwest, man. So even though they didn't play that well towards the end of it and lost pretty badly to Edmonton, the recreational bettors are going to come and look at this. The public's going to look at this and think, well, the Rangers are back at home now, so they're going to bounce back, right? No, I don't look at it that way, because when you return home and you only have one day off and it's been a road trip that took you, it was a road trip where you were gone for like a week, more than a week, and you were far away from home out in the Pacific Northwest. You return home, you're family, man. You have stuff to get back to. You have stuff at home to attend to, family life to get back to. And like I said, that's always a distraction. And this St. Louis team that hasn't been playing well, is that really a team the Rangers are going to throw full focus at? I don't think so. And look who the Rangers have up next in 2 days. The Carolina Hurricanes, who are one of the best teams in the NHL. And I think Carolina was the team, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Carolina's the team that, did they eliminate the Rangers last year from the postseason? I don't remember. That's still kind of a big Eastern Conference rival here at the very least. Let me see, because I forget. I think they did play each other, and I forget which team won. No, the Rangers eliminated the Hurricanes, it looks like. For some reason, I thought it was the other way around, and Florida beat the Hurricanes. And maybe Florida beat the Hurricanes the year before that, but whatever the case is, yeah, I mean, I think the Rangers, that's still a look-ahead spot. That's a big game against Carolina regardless. So St. Louis, yeah, that's not a team they're going to be focused on. So bad spot for the Rangers. Give me the Blues. And then I'll finish out the video by talking about the NFL game, which I'm not touching this NFL game, man. Ravens-Chargers, and bad NFL week for me after I got Cleveland on Thursday, which was my favorite play. I thought my plays were good yesterday, too, and I went 0-2 in those plays, and I don't want to touch this game, Ravens-Chargers. Ravens down from 3 with juice to 2.5 with juice now, with 62% of tickets on them, but 67% of the cash. So we've seen some line movement against them, but it looks like there is some cash coming in on the Ravens side. And I actually think professionals are split on this game. Having listened to two professionals on this, I think they have reasons to be on both sides of this game. So the side really does not look very appealing to me in this game. I don't even know which way I want to lean in this game, man. But my preference in this game would actually be to the over, but the line has moved up from 47.5 to 51. And I was right about the over in the Sunday night game, by the way. Bad Rams defense. Both teams could score in that game. So I was correct on that lean, but I just don't play NFL totals hardly at all, unfortunately, because I was right on that one. But this one I also like the over, even though it looks public with 61% of tickets and only 50% of the cash. Some of that is probably at this larger number, so maybe I've missed the boat a little bit, but 51 is still a key number. 47 is a key number, so this line started where it was already above 47, so I don't think you're really losing that much value between 47.5 and 51. If it was at 47, then yeah, I would say you've lost a lot of value. But straight up at 51, I mean, that's right on a key number, so I wouldn't really mind playing the over 51 in this one. I mean, this is a Ravens team. Ravens have a really good offense, and they're going to be, as I pointed out in my NFL video this week, if you go watch my NFL video, I pointed out that this is going to be the best offense. I mean, they're probably the best offense in the NFL, so just that alone means it's the best offense the Chargers have faced, but the Chargers really have not faced any good offenses this entire season, man. I mean, who are the best offenses they've faced this year? Maybe Arizona, and yeah, they held them down, sure, and still lost the game, though. And then the best offense they face is obviously the Cincinnati Bengals, and Cincinnati put up 27 against them, which was the highest point total any team has put up against them. And the Chargers almost blew that game. Thankfully, they won because I had a play on the Chargers in that game, but Chargers, I mean, in that step-up game against a good offense, they didn't do well, and that could continue to be the case here against Baltimore, man. I think Baltimore is probably going to be able to move the ball against this Chargers defense, even though the Chargers defense, the reason why they do hold opponents down score-wise is because the Jim Harbaugh, the way that he plays, man, is he is a possession coach. He wants his offenses to have possession of the ball as long as possible, run the clock down all the way on every single down, every single play, run the clock all the way down because he wants to keep the ball out of the opponent's hands. And he's going to try to do that here too, and maybe it'll work to some extent. I mean, so I can see that going both ways a little bit, but I do think Baltimore is going to score a bit in this game. Maybe it won't be like their highest point total of the year, but I do think that they're probably going to get at least into the 20s in this game. And that's probably what you'll need as far as getting the game to go over. Because then on the other hand, Baltimore, their defense is actually not that good against the pass. This year they lost some of their guys that they had last year. They lost their defensive coordinator. So their defense is still not bad, but it has taken a step back, man. And against the pass, it's not very good. And Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback. So this Chargers offense does have the capability to take advantage of Baltimore's defensive weakness, even though I know Harbaugh likes to run the ball and possess the ball, but he likes a balanced attack as well. So, of course, with Herbert there, like I said, and he's getting healthier as well after he started the season injured, which kind of made the Chargers offense look worse than it probably actually is. They do have a few weapons there that they can take advantage of on offense. I think they can probably exploit Baltimore's defensive weakness to enough of a degree that you'll probably get some points from their side as well, which is why I like the over here. And as far as the side, again, it's a tough call, man. Because I could see the Chargers still hanging on to the ball enough that it holds Baltimore's defense down a little bit and maybe enough for the Chargers to come within this number. Chargers coming off a big game, kind of on a short week now, though. A big primetime win, but it's not like they're going to overlook Baltimore, really. So I can see kind of conflicting indicators as far as the side is concerned for the Chargers. And then the Chargers, yeah, they've been a team that's been overlooked all season, but now that we saw them win against Cincinnati in primetime in a nice high-scoring game, are they no longer flying out of the radar? Now they're 7-3. I don't know, man. And they're also 4-1 at home, but they haven't faced great opponents at home, although Cincinnati was one of their home wins, which is pretty good. But other than that, it was Tennessee, an injured New Orleans team, and the Raiders. So they haven't faced a whole lot of great teams at home. And then I think, did I miss one? Oh, well, Kansas City, actually. So scratch that, but that was their one loss at home. But they did come to within 7 against Kansas City, and their defensive strategy or offensive strategy, really, to keep the ball out of the opponent's hands, actually did work well in that game against Kansas City. But Kansas City's offense is not an offense that lights you up, really. So LA, I mean, the best offense they faced, obviously, on the entire season and in their home games was that Cincinnati game. So take from all of that what you will. It's hard to read, but Baltimore, my initial instinct in this game was I wanted to fade Baltimore because they're coming off a couple big divisional games where they beat Cincinnati to season sweep them, and then they went on the road, and this is like the game of the year for Cincinnati, or for Baltimore and Pittsburgh, man. Game of the year is when they play each other, and that was, either way you look at it, I think it's a letdown spot here. I mean, Baltimore probably should have won the game, and they lost, and that's a tough physical battle whenever Baltimore plays the Steelers, man. So coming off that game, and then they have to go to the Pacific Coast, and as I always mention, you play a Pacific Coast late-night game, although I know it has not been a problem for the last couple of teams that have done that, going from East Coast to West Coast. The Eagles did it, and the Dolphins did it, and they both beat the Rams, but that's the Rams who don't play defense as well as the Chargers do, even though, like I said, Chargers defense is probably not as good as maybe it looks, but it is certainly still better than the Rams defense is. But I think it still stands that these East Coast teams going out west to play a late-night primetime game, it still messes with your biological clock, man. You're still having to play late into the night as far as your biological clock is concerned, so it's still not that great a situation for these teams, and that's the spot the Ravens are going to be in, and coming off a real tough game, obviously, against the Steelers. But the Ravens did outplay the Steelers in this game. They outgained them by a little bit, and they were -2 in turnovers and had 3 turnovers in this game. So, on the other hand, the Ravens do have some stuff to clean up in this game. But then again, on the other hand, are they really going to care about the Chargers? Maybe, because the Chargers are looking like one of the better teams in the conference now. But the Ravens do have a big game against the Eagles up next, which might be hailed as like a Super Bowl, potential Super Bowl matchup. But I don't know, man. Is Baltimore going to look ahead to an out-of-conference game and look past a conference opponent who's actually pretty good? I don't know. Like I said, this game is really difficult to gauge on the side, man. So I don't even know which way I want to lean on the side here, to be honest. But my initial instinct was Baltimore's coming off a big game against Pittsburgh, having to go out to the Pacific Coast. So I think it's a bad spot, and you're going to at least be fading a public road favorite in this one if you take the Chargers. So that was my first instinct. And as far as picking this game, I don't know if I'm going to stick with that, like in my pools and whatever. So take from that what you will. Hopefully that gave you a bunch of information, man. We're in under an hour. We're in under 50 minutes right now, so that's good. So all my plays today are in college basketball: Mercer +4.5, Virginia Tech +10.5, East Texas A&M +2.5, North Texas -6.5, Norfolk State +6.5, NBA Pacers -6.5, NHL Tampa Bay -110, Nashville, New Jersey over 6 -108, and St. Louis Blues split bet +1.5 pucks, +1.5 goals on the puck line at -130 and +200 money line. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tower Gang Toad. Go follow the Tower Gang podcast, patreon.com/Tower Gang to throw us some support, and you get live pre-show, live post-show. And now, I will tell you, we have taken down the Tower Gang Spotify feed. We weren't getting that many views on there anyway, so the video feed at least. So now we're going to have a new Patreon Spotify feed. So if you sign up to the Patreon, you'll get access to a private Patreon-only feed that's going to have all of the stuff on it. It's going to have pre-show, post-show, and the main episode all in it. So starting from...
Hell yeah!
What's up, Tom? What's going on, baby? Oh, you fucking scared me. I'm signing off, man. I'm telling people to sign up to the Patreon. We're going to get stuff going on here with the Tower Gang Patreon, and we're going to have the Patreon feed on Spotify. So that's going to be going. So that's what they're going to get access to that private feed. We're going to be on audio on all the audio platforms through Spreaker now. So that's the change that's going on with Tower Gang there. But subscribe to the Patreon. You'll get all of that. And you still get to watch all the video episodes on Rumble for Tower Gang if you want that as well. And we'll be doing another episode of Tower Gang as usual Wednesday night live at 9:11 p.m. Eastern Tower Time. So I think that's all I got to say. You got anything?
That's right. Yeah, we're also going to be working to backlog some of Toad's stuff here, create an audio feed. I know you guys like Better Off Dead. I think it would do good on audio, man. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. Maybe some of the fans want to help out. Fuck it. Strip some MP4s into MP3s and send them to us. Yeah, man, we're doing work out here.
We can get some Better Off Dead merch too. And there was one saying. What was the saying? There's one saying that I have that people were suggesting would go on like a Better Off Dead shirt. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Fake it till you make it.
No, it's what the hell was it? It was something that I say.
I'm about to kill myself.
Fuck. I'll tell you. I'll remember it and then I'll tell you because I can't believe I forget what it is because I say it all the time. I can't remember, but I'll figure it out. But there is some saying, yeah.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna head out because I got a show started in a couple minutes, but. Peace out, guys. Oh, this is my first time on Better Off Dead?
Yeah, you're the first guest ever on Better Off Dead, and we're like, what are we at? Like 500 episodes now of this show, probably.
Nice. I popped your cherry. Yeah, skip the guest.
I've been doing it for I've been doing it for a year and a half, I think, at this point.
Nice. All right, Toad. I'll see you.
Every day, basically.
I'll see you later, man. Keep it up.
All right, thanks, man.
Peace out.
All right. All right, Top Lobster with his first appearance ever on Better Off Dead. Go follow Top Lobster. He's also one of the hosts of Tower Gang, obviously, and he hosts Nephilim Death Squad, the conspiracy / comedy podcast, I guess if you want to call it that. They are a rising star in the conspiracy podcast realm, so go check them out as well. That's Top Lobster and David the Raven are the two hosts of that show. Go check them out. Give them some support as well if you want. And toplobster.com for merch for all of these different shows, man. He's the best in the merch business, so go check that out as well. Once again, I'm Tower Gang Toad, and obviously follow the Tower Gang podcast. As I said, thanks for hanging out, guys. The two of you who are viewing and none of you have commented. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Let's get back on the winning side today, man. Yesterday sucked big-ass balls, so let's go, man. Peace out.